It's New Year's Eve and the ball is about to drop. It's so exciting! Out with 2022 and in with 2023. Here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Happy New Year! Wait a minute.
What?
This episode releases on January 27th.
I'm afraid so.
So the month is almost over already. Why are we doing a New Year's Eve show?
We wondered that too.
All right, well, New Year's horror. 27 days late on this episode of Attack of the Killer Podcast.
Attention planet Earth and beyond. Stay tuned for Attack of the Killer Podcast. 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 Yay.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Attack of the Killer Podcast, the horror podcast that is always on time with its topics. This is episode 279, and we will be talking about New Year's horror. It's our first episode of 2023 after our awesome two-part year-ender.
So awesome.
But more importantly, this episode begins our 13th year.
Woohoo!
I get that right? 13?
Yes.
Yes. We are starting things out right with movies. We're starting out things right with the movies that we're discussing tonight, right? These are bangers.
Yeah. Of course. You've really honed your craft after 13 years of picking out gems.
I want it known that I did not technically pick the movies for this topic.
Oh, who do we blame then?
This is Tad.
All right. Thanks, buddy.
So if this is your first time listening to Attack of the Killer Podcast, where have you been? We've missed you. Attack of the Killer Podcast is a horror movie podcast where a group of friends, we get together with a topic and we discuss films within that topic. Now we're just friends hanging out, speaking openly and freely, so there may be spoilers, just so you know. Now, if this is your first time and you like what you hear, please consider helping supporting the show. Go to jointheattackers.com, and from there you can pick the tier you wish to donate. Once you do, you become part of the Attack of the Killer podcast family that we call the Attackers. As an attacker, you get access to various perks and extra content, such as bonus episodes, videos. You get a membership card and certificate. You can even get shout-outs on the show and on our website. And you can even get invited to exclusive events such as our monthly horror hangout, watch parties, and our exclusive chat that we call Attack of the Killer Chat. So much amazing stuff and so much more that could be had. And all you have to do is go to jointheattackers.com. Again, that is jointheattackers.com. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for. It's time to introduce you to this year's podcast crew. It's the same as last year's.
Yeah, right.
He says the worst part about jogging on New Year's Eve is spilling his drink. Tad.
Cheers, I guess.
His New Year's resolution was to drop all of his bad habits, but then he realized no one likes a quitter. Jason!
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. And I'm so happy that you realize that this show is coming out way after New Year's. That makes me so happy. Anyway, thanks for listening, everybody.
Did I get the date right?
I don't even know. But
Okay, I'm pretty sure I got the date right. I did math. Anyway, his New Year's resolution was to read more, so now he watches movies with subtitles. Andy, everybody!
I'm pretty much forced to. My wife makes me, so yeah. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Heard about Shudder? Shudder is the premium streaming service where you can watch any and all types of horror entertainment. We all here at Attack of Killer Podcast love Shudder, and we watch it for various reasons. If it's watching Joe Bob, or going deep on obscure cult films, or staying up to date with the most current in horror, we love Shudder so much that we are going to give you a month of Shudder for free. So when you go there, just enter our promo code AotKP and get the first 30 days of Shudder on us. Again, that promo code is AOTKP. Do it.
So aggressive every time.
Do it. Do it.
And so we've been away for a few weeks, taking our little time off for the holidays and whatnots. But we're back. And man, I bet we've watched a lot of stuff. Let's find out. Here's Tad with what we watched.
We could just rename this Letterboxed if it wasn't trademarked, because I feel like I'm always
We
just
should get
scrolling
sponsored
through.
by them.
Yeah, but no,
Well,
it's
what if we call it Letterbox, but we spell it on the way it's actually spelled?
spell it correctly?
Yeah.
Good idea. Let's throw it over to Andy because I feel like he's watched the most out of all of us. Andy, what have you watched?
Okay. With the wife, we watched the whole first season of Willow on Disney, and it's actually pretty darn good. If you guys haven't checked that out yet, basically it's them on another quest, and Warwick Davis, he comes back and reprises his role as Willow Ufgood, and the same gal that played Sorsha in the first movie is she's there too, and she had kids with Mad Mardigan and all that. And I don't really want to get too much into it because mainly I got a lot to say about all the other stuff I watch. But I think you guys would, if you like the first film, you'll really enjoy this one.
I do not.
This series. What?
I said
You
I do
didn't-
not. No,
You don't?
my brother watched it all the time growing up, and I mean we watched Goonies and Karate Kid and all the 80s classics, and I was like, Willow is so lame. Like, why does he like this? It's awful and dreadful. So I'd have to revisit it as like maybe as an adult and see if it was just like as a kid I didn't understand. I didn't like the fantasy stuff. I never liked Princess Bride. I never liked Willow.
Oh, okay. Then yeah, it's probably not your cup of tea then.
And I've heard that it uses like modern language, which is turning a lot of people off the new series.
A little bit. They say, I think they say shit, and they might have said, one girl called each other a bitch, and but yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I can see why people might not like it, but I think it's fun. Another series that the wife and I have been watching, it's an animated series called Little Demon. Have you guys heard of this?
Nope.
Yeah. It's on Hulu, right?
Yes, it's an FX show, and there's a lot of cussing. Aubrey Plaza does voiceover, and Danny DeVito and his daughter are also in it.
I've yet to pull the trigger, but I have it in my
It's hilarious. It's really good. Basically, it's this witch that had a kid with Satan, and she's been trying to keep him away from Satan for like 13 years, and then now the Satan finds them, and now they have to. It's kind of like Satan has her on the weekends, because and since she's half demon, this girl's going through puberty, so I mean it gets a little weird, but it's also the situations in it are just like really hilarious. So it's a lot of fun. Okay, gonna fire them off here. I watched the documentary My Amityville Horror, which is an interview with one of the original kids that lived in the house, and just like the parents, he still maintains the story that something actually happened there. I don't really know if I really still believe it, or not. I still think it's kind of a hoax. I still think it's what he just pretend. Yeah, I mean, I think he believes what he saw. I just don't think he really knows what he saw. Rewatched the Walter Hill classic, The Warriors, because it's a kick-ass movie. If you don't know what The Warriors is, just go out and watch it because it's awesome.
Come out and play.
Exactly. I rewatched Dario Argento's Tenebrae, and it's still one of my favorites.
Yes.
That blood spray against the wall is
best.
fucking awesome. One of my top favorite, probably in my top 10 favorite moments in horror. Actually, it may not be in the top 5, but it's definitely in the top 10. I watched the documentary Blood, Guts, and Sunshine, which is the history of horror films being made in Florida. now most of them right now are, they're very, very low budget, and it's just like get a girl with a lot of tattoos and a lot of piercings, cover her in blood, and make sure she has big boobs, and can scream.
Okay.
But however, it also says that Bob Clark is not like he wasn't he's not really Canadian. He made his first film, Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things, down in Florida.
Florida, yeah.
So it was a lot more insightful than I thought it would be, which I also recommend it. I think that's on Tubi.
They
I
talk.
also
Do they talk
watched.
a lot about Fredo and Ray in there too, or
I think I believe so. I know he's mentioned.
because he was part of that scene, especially earlier on?
Yeah. I also watched the history of Nazi exploitation films. This like Freud. I can't remember what it's called, but the one thing that stood out to me is that they interviewed Diane Thorne at great length, and this is on Tubi as well. But I can't for the life of me remember the name of it. But before she died, she was like she did like one of those chapels in Vegas with her husband, because she was like an ordained minister. And the thing that blew me away, she just goes, if you wanted, she would dress up like Elsa, She-Wolf of the SS, and officiate your wedding.
Oh man!
Jesus.
Wow.
If I knew that way back when.
Yeah, so I mean, if you
You'd
wanted
be
to
canceled now.
yeah, exactly, right? So it's just like it blew me away when I heard that. I'm just like, holy shit, that is one weird wedding.
Hey, Elsa, She-Wolf of the SS is an awesome movie. Shot on the same
I'm
sets
not
as Hogan's
saying that,
Heroes,
but
by
I
the
mean,
way.
I don't think I want her to marry me. I watched a Ginger Lynn movie with Winks Hauser called Mind, Body, and Soul. It's about this satanic cult. Very low budget, very crappy.
Moving on.
Moving on.
And I also watched Evil Laugh. It's a Vinegar Syndrome title, but it was made by the guy that got hacked to shit over the candy bar in Friday the 13th Part 5, Dominic Brazica. Another crappy slasher flick, but it's kind of fun in a way.
Dude, I had never seen the movie before. I'm familiar with it. That is the second time today that this movie's been brought up. I was listening to Jonah Ray on the movies that made us, and he brought up that movie on that podcast. So that's weird.
Yeah, it's a very 80s product of its time, and I mean, for what it is, it's okay, but it's nothing spectacular. I watched the Blu-ray version, the updated version with the special features of a documentary called "I Think We're Alone Now," which is the two fans that are obsessed with Tiffany from the 1980s.
Oh yeah.
And they're even in 2020s, they're still just as batshit crazy as they were back in 2008. And it's disturbing, even though they're kind of harmless. But yet, I would be very, very leery of these two people. They're I mean, but at the same time, it's kind of sad because that they're very mentally ill.
That always reminds me, and I know you brought up the movie before, but that always reminds me in my early days in retail, I had a regular customer, very socially awkward, really creeped all of us out, bought every single Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen movie that came
Jesus
out.
Christ.
And this was during the VHS days when they were putting out movies like once a week or whatever. Yeah. He would special order the ones he didn't have in his collection.
Well, you remember, like, I don't even know if I want to go open that can of worms, that rabbit hole, that, like, people had that, like, countdown till they turned 18. I mean, it was, like, yeah, really creepy. Like, old guys were really into the Olsen twins. It's, like, not cool.
Which as adults, they look like something out of a horror movie, so I don't see the appeal.
Right,
Yeah, they kind of look like the guy that they find in Seven with like all those like in the bed with like the fucking air fresheners hanging from the ceiling. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we just lost.
I'm sorry,
Olsen
that's a little
twins as
cruel.
listeners.
Yeah, well, fuck it. And this next one, I bought it as a blind buy, but it's probably one of the favorites that I've watched most recently. It's a movie called Villains,
Oh
and
yeah.
it's got
Does it have a
it's basic.
Skarsgård in it?
Yeah,
Yep.
Yep.
That's good.
have you seen it, Tad?
Yeah, it was one from a couple of years ago. Watched it for the year-end episode.
Okay, all right. This is the first time I've seen it. Um, Friggin' loved it.
Yeah.
It's
That's
it's
great.
it's a very good movie. Just for any of the people that haven't seen it out there, it's a dark comedy about these two lovebirds that are bank robbers, and their car runs out of gas after they rob a gas station, right? And they have to break into this house to get another car. And as they break in there, they find a little girl chained up in the basement, and their sense of morality will not let them leave this little girl. They eventually get discovered by this couple who are seemingly looking like they're living out of like the late 1950s. And uh, let's see, is it what the Sedgwick and hold on a minute. Yeah, Kira Sedgwick, excuse me, sorry, and Jeffrey Donovan are really, really good in it. Everybody just delivers a great performance, and it's a damn good movie, and I highly recommend that. Sorry, I know this has taken me a little bit. Uh,
I said you were going to be the one that probably watched the most. So
I also watched, and I believe this is on Shutter, but it's an Argentinian movie. I ordered this one, and freaking Lucio Fulci would have a heyday with this because there's a lot of gnarly eyeball shit in this. um, I don't want to spoil any of the eyeball stuff, but it's a movie called The Last Matinee, and it's just takes place in a theater, and it's random people that are so far spread out in the theater, they're not sitting anywhere near each other, and there's just a killer in this theater that are randomly killing people, and they also have a movie within the movie, because well, they're at a movie, and it's called Frankenstein Day of the Beast. Even like the movie that they're watching is kind of somewhat pretty engaging, but and I love movies that take place in, a movie theater, popcorn, midnight movie, all that stuff. Highly recommend this one too, just, because it starts off a little slow, but once it gets going, and the killer's really good. Um, yeah, all really good stuff. I also watched Ebola Syndrome for the first time. This movie is so fucking nasty and gnarly. I think it may turn me into a vegan. It's so fucking gross. Um, Basically, this guy, gets he goes on the run after killing a few people in Hong Kong, and he ends up in South Africa. And he, as they're trying to buy pigs for this restaurant that he works at, he gets the Ebola virus mainly because he sexually assaults a tribe woman. And some of the dialogue in this movie is so non-PC, it's not even funny. And it's so racist. And, it's so racist against black people. It's so racist against white people. I mean, this movie is so awful. I mean, it's so awful, it almost gets humorous to a point. It's just like, it's like not even taking itself seriously. But, yeah, just this guy, he becomes like immune to the Ebola virus that he gets, and then he becomes a super spreader, and then he knows it, and he just basically weaponizes himself, and because he's already a piece of shit to begin with, and it's yeah, it's a gross fucking movie. Highly recommend it. I also watched the BBC movie. Not really a movie. It was more like a broadcast. It's called Ghost Watch. You guys heard of this? I think it's on Shutter too.
yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, basically, it's a Halloween broadcast the BBC did back in the early '90s, and a lot of people. It was very Orson Welles' War of the Worlds kind of feel to it, because people thought this shit was actually happening, because because the BBC news people that did this, and then they did it at Halloween, so that people thought they would be in on the joke, but they played it so straight laced that people thought this shit was actually happening, like a seance, and wind was blowing through, the the production room, and like they were just playing it so straight laced, and they were the paranormal investigators that were there and anybody that was investigating. I mean, there's a whole like hour-long documentary on it that on people thinking that this was actually real. It was pretty good. I enjoyed it. I watched a Lamberto Bava movie called Delirium with Serena Grandi and Daria Nicolodi and George Eastman. Have you guys heard of this?
Yep, I have, but
Yeah, it's basically your typical, mid '80s giallo. Serena Grande, not a great actress, but she also, she was hired for certain assets. Let's just say that. Um, yeah, not bad. Different. It's a typical Italian booby slasher movie. It's fun. I also rewatched the Hunt with Betty Gilpin and Hilary Swank. That's still fun.
great movie.
Yeah. And last but certainly not least, I revisited Memoirs of an Invisible Man, the John Carpenter movie. Not his best, not his worst. Definitely, it's middle of the road Carpenter, but definitely worth a watch in my opinion.
Sort of popping back up in headlines this week as Carpenter's doing the media rounds.
Yeah, he's kind of letting his feelings know about a certain, let's just say, leading man, so to speak.
Yeah, he doesn't
but
mention any names, but he says something about wishing death, and then something about no,
Setting him on fire, right?
setting him on fire. Yeah,
but if you watch like the behind the scenes stuff and them goofing around behind the scenes, I guess Carpenter's a pretty good actor, tolerating, just certain hijinks. I mean, it looks like they were getting along, but hey, it's what you put out there and what people perceive, right? But anyway, yeah, sorry. Watched a lot of stuff, but that was what I watched.
excellent. Jason, have you watched that much?
Well, I'm gonna offset the Andy, and so it's been almost a month since I watched the last film for the award show, and since then I've watched 2 films. Oh man, I'm so dumb. But I
Why
watched
is that? Why is that dumb?
I don't know. I just suck.
It's playoff football time, baby.
Well, there's that for sure. I know just the other day, but I watched Bullet Train. That was fucking fun as shit. Had a good time with that. Brad Pitt.
It was all right.
Yeah, action. Good times.
Saw it in theaters because Bad Bunny's in it. And Nikki had to see it, but
Had to.
yeah.
And then I watched a baseball documentary called Facing Nolan about Nolan Ryan.
Yep.
It was actually really good. Both this came out last year. It was awesome. I for those who don't know, I threw a baseball since I could hold one, and I did a lot of pitching in my youth and was pretty good at it. And I did a lot of it actually, and probably could have done something, but baseball. I don't watch any baseball because it's the most boring thing ever. But
Watching it on TV but it's kind of fun.
It's
and
it's all
live.
right. But like so.
That was the only sport I was ever halfway good at.
Yeah, I definitely knew him and was aware of him, and so and documentaries are documentaries. So just laid one night and just clicked on it, and it was great. It was great.
I think
It was one of the best of all time.
watching baseball is equivalent to watching Bloody New Year for me.
Ooh, there's
Oh,
some foreshadowing.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Spoilers.
Ouch. Well, anyway, that's what I watched.
All right, Mike, how about you?
Okay, let me. Let me get back to my list. There it is. Well, I actually got to watch some stuff with
All
that
right.
with our time off. Guess what I finally watched, guys? Guess what? Guess what I finally watched?
Oh, I think I saw it on your letterbox too.
Weird Al.
Yeah. How many times since the last time?
He's watched it 4 more times since we last recorded.
I finally watched Everything Everywhere All at
Yay!
Once.
All right.
And apparently timely with, how do you say his name? Kwan got that
Yeah.
Golden Globe.
He gave the best speech ever, yeah.
Yeah, which was an
Right.
amazing speech.
Wasn't that
yeah.
awesome?
Yeah, it was great. It was awesome. It's everything you guys said. So I'll move on. What?
No.
I'm just, go ahead.
I don't know what else to say about it. It was funny. It was a lot of fun to watch. I love a lot of the outside the box thinking when it came to dealing with like multiverse mentality type things, and yeah, it was cool. On Christmas Day, the three of us sat down and watched Glass Onion, Knives Out mystery.
Oh, yeah, I watched that too. Sorry.
Yeah,
That was fun.
It was
I liked
a
it.
lot of fun. I really hope they keep going with these Knives Out movies and keep going in that direction where, you know, he is the recurring character solving the mysteries, and I love, just love a good. And Simon's really gotten into like murder mystery stories too over the past couple of years, so it was really awesome and a lot of fun. Great, great cast in it, and yeah, that's on Netflix, right? Yeah.
Yep.
I want to bring up 2 more because it's 2 that I'm pretty passionate about that I've watched. So, if you know me, and you've probably heard me talk about it on the show before, but I'm a pretty big passive Adam Rifkin fan. And I say passive just because, like, I keep telling myself I need to watch his entire filmography, and maybe I'll watch one and then forget about it for like a year. So, but every time I see one of his movies, I really like it. But he's got such a diverse palette of films that I just always question, how much of a fan I am of him as a filmmaker. But so I decided to jump down the rabbit hole again and got a couple more watched. The only one of the 2 that I want to talk about right now is called Shooting the Warwicks. Oh wow, guys. Seriously. I mean, it definitely has its budget on its sleeve, but basically Adam kind of stars in it. He plays this TV producer who goes to the network to pitch the ultimate reality TV show. And his beef as an artist with reality TV and how it's not really reality TV. It's all scripted. It's still fake. And he wants to produce the most reality TV show ever, starring a family and every modern day American family, the Warwicks. And the catch is the Warwicks have no idea they're stars of this TV show. So they put cameras. They break into the house and hide cameras everywhere. They hide cameras at at the office, at the school, everywhere these people go. And they get the okay. They're with the network, and they're working on this film. They're shooting stuff, and they're shooting stuff for like a couple weeks, and realize average American life is boring. Like the studio, the network's upset because the dailies are coming back, and like it's just they get up, they go to work, they go to school, they come home. Maybe they'll have like a Pilates class one day, or taking the daughter to cheerleading practice, whatever the case may be. So Adam Rifkin decides he's going to start interjecting drama into these people's lives, and it just starts devolving from there. Everything just goes horribly wrong as they keep interjecting drama into these poor people's lives. And it's it bills, like if you look it up on IMDb, it bills itself as a comedy drama, and there's a lot of comedy in it, especially in the first act. It kind of comes off lighthearted and goofy. You kind of got like, as an example, scene where one of the the PA guys breaks into the house to plant. There's a big topic of product placement. The network wants product placement now, so this PA has to break into the house and start planting all these products everywhere, like a certain brand of peanut butter, certain brand of condoms and whatnot, and then, the daughter comes home, so it's like TV sitcom-y where the guy has to hide behind doors and hide in closets and stuff and almost getting caught every single time, So it gets a little goofy and silly with that. But, oh my God, guys, by the third act, it gets fucking dark. It is super dark and does not end well for these people. There's still some silliness going on. They're still trying to, it's some comedy going on, but oh my God, I couldn't believe just how dark they went with this, with just tearing this family apart. So, if I remember, I think it was Tubi. Everything's on Tubi, right? Mm-hmm. So, I highly recommend checking it out. It's called Shooting the Warwicks. And then the last thing I want to bring up, just because I just recently watched it, it's just hot now, and I wanted to be the first one to bring it up. On Netflix, I watched the documentary Hatchet Wheeling Hitchhiker. You guys,
Yeah, Nikki
that?
watched
Kai?
it.
Yeah, about Kai.
I'm hoping to check it out.
It's a great doc, and oh my God, it's just that guy was weird. That guy is something else. But anyway, that's what I watched.
Excellent.
And so, Tad, what did you watch?
I'm somewhere in the middle. I also saw Glass Onion. I saw Babylon, which I really, really liked. It is a 3-hour telling, sort of, yeah, it's Damien, I'm drawing a blank on his name, but he did La La Land, and has Margot Robbie and Brad Pitt, and has a great cast about these actors who were made it big in the silent era, and then once movies turned to talkies, how they struggled, sort of like a more serious, crazy version of Singing in the Rain. And yeah, it was real. I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. Oh, Tobey Maguire plays like one of the creepiest humans ever in this, like a really scuzzy businessman. Highly recommend that. I think it's going to pop up quite a bit during awards season. White Noise, I think, was a little over my head, a little too artsy, maybe. It's a Noah Baumbach movie. But this is like his big budget movie for Netflix, and I'm like, man, I don't know if I like when they give him a big budget to work with. I mean, good for him, and I think other people really liked it, but I think it was just a little over my head. I watched a new documentary on HBO Max called This Place Rules.
How was that?
I really liked it. Andrew Callaghan, he is sort of this street reporter. He's been famous on Instagram for sort of like a cult guy. He does these street interviews with real people and he sort of catches these crazy people basically on camera saying the craziest shit, and they gave him the budget to make a feature documentary, and he sort of follows the Trump campaign around up into the climax of January 6th, 2022. And we all know what happened on that day, but it's sort of a humorous look at both sides. He talks to crazy lefties and crazy right-wingers, and just sort of has a strange, I don't know, look at these people in our country. It's
political
really,
landscape.
It's very interesting. I finally checked out The Menu. That was fucking awesome. Has anyone seen that yet?
Not yet. I watched the
Not yet.
trailer.
I haven't, no.
Jason, you got to talk Michelle into watching this one with you.
Because of the food.
Yes, so
Yeah.
It is a like black comedy / horror with, is it Ralph Fiennes that played Voldemort? He plays sort of like the most pretentious, sought after rich chef, famous chef, and these people pay top dollar to go eat at his private restaurant, and things don't go according to plan. It has Anya Taylor-Joy as the lead.
Oh yeah, love her.
Yeah, me too. And see, Nikki's not into like food, like movies or documentaries or TV. She doesn't like. She would hate Food Network and stuff. But I'm like, so she had no interest in it. So I watched it alone. But after watching it and how it's like a satire on that world of foodies and pretentious people who take pictures of their food, and very funny and poignant, but also scary at times. I really loved it. Saw Megan, which was fucking awesome. No one else has seen Megan yet?
I want to. I just it's not around here yet.
How is it not around? It's there. Come on, man. It's the number one movie
Well,
outside of it. Beat
It's-
Avatar.
But the theater, well, it should because I heard Avatar sucked.
But this, I
Sorry.
really
Killed the shit.
I was grabbing a drink real quick. Megan was a whole lot of fun. It's very campy, but also scary and cool and stylish, but smart, and it knows sort of its limits. It doesn't take itself seriously, which I really loved. I thought it was a blast. I highly recommend everyone check that out. It's like the first big horror release of 2023 and kicked it off with a bang. And then Friday night, watched Jason Lives on the big screen with my buddy Jason.
I
So
forgot that one. I've seen 3
Right.
movies.
yeah, so that's what I have watched so far this year.
Awesome. Great. Okay, so it's time to get into films. I guess I wanted to. It's popped in my head. I just want to mention real quick, because I did forget this too. Had Simon watch his very first Friday the 13th movie.
Yeah.
Yay! We watched part 2. He's like, I want to go in order, Dad. I'm like, I really don't want to watch the first one. And I'm like, son, you know enough about the mythology that you don't really need to watch the first one. He's like, okay. And like, all the best parts you see.
Ruining this kid's experience because you didn't want to watch the first one.
Dude, it doesn't matter. I watched, my first one
No,
was
I
part
know.
6.
I
So
know.
Mine was part 7.
And he.
he liked it.
Yeah.
He really liked it. Yes. Okay, I just wanted to throw that out there. I was pretty proud that
That's awesome.
finally got a kid. Finally got my son to be not only watching horror movies, but now starting him out on my favorite franchise.
You need to really corrupt him and turn him on to part 5
We'll get there.
because
We'll get there.
it's so sleazy.
He still
awesome.
he covers his eyes for nudity, so he'll have his eyes shut a lot during part 5. But we'll get there.
That shit, he's gonna miss 2/3 of the movie.
I know it's funny. Exactly. All right, so we should get into talking about our New Year's films. Jason, what's our first one?
Our first film is from 1987, and it's called Bloody New Year.
It started as a day out, a trip that held the promise of fun and pleasure. But for Rick and his friends, the fun ended early when they landed on Grand Island. For those who dare face a horrifying and bloody new year. Attacked by the dead. Threatened by evil. Chased by the unknown. Terrorized by monsters. They cannot escape the fate that awaits them when they become caught in the angry half-world. Dead or alive, they are locked in time forever. Trapped in the Hotel of Horror, they can check out anytime. bloody new year.
Announcer guy pretty much said everything, but I'll say again. A group of friends take refuge in an island hotel that is decorated for New Year's. But soon enough, even the walls themselves are striking out against them. I know, right? Written, directed by Norman J. Warren, everybody's favorite.
It's his fault.
And
Is it though? We'll get to it.
Oh. And a bunch of other people you don't know help make this movie. And I actually found myself not minding this one. It
Sometimes you perplex the fuck out of me, dude.
like I
I have.
Oh yeah, man.
you know, like it was just so they had to have had like $7 to make this movie.
Apparently so.
And I thought they did the best they could. They had a very thin script, concept, and there were some cute things that happened in the movie. I don't know. I liked some of
Are you
it.
joining the movie defenders now? I mean,
Come on now.
is it that you're just watching so few horror movies now that like
Right, that even this.
that you're
it's
just
like-
getting your fix? It's like
Because, dude, the whole time I'm watching it, and I'll start off by saying I didn't hate this either,
All right.
but that should be expected from me.
Right.
The whole time I'm watching this, I'm like, oh, fucking Jason's hating this. Jason is hating this. So I do feel happy, a little happy that to find out that you didn't mind it.
I
which
didn't
that
mind it.
Should be on the box. Jason didn't mind it.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I thought that Nikki Brooks was cute as hell, so that really helped.
Which one was she?
She was Janet, the lead girl.
The lead. Wait,
The
was
lead
that the
blonde
American
girl. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But yeah, they. Oh yeah, I'm watching
kinda
the
thought they were
trailer
all-
again,
I
and
kind of thought they were all kind of cute.
they were when they got trapped in that net for like 45 minutes. I'm just looking at this trailer, I'm like, get out of the net, you crazy! But what about when they spun that dude's head around for 45 minutes?
yeah,
That was
sort of
awesome
cool.
too.
Yeah, that was funny.
Okay, all right.
Here's my thing. Like, I feel like I kind of like all of the effects that they did. It's just because if you would have taken all those effects and put those exact same effects in something shittier, like some shot on VHS movie, you'd have been blown away, you know? Or if maybe a little more competent filmmaker shot those effects a little bit better, like a better DP, better lighting, better camera angles, whatever, those effects would have been mind-boggling for 1987. Because I'm watching that head twist thing, and there's one moment where it's like, I mean, we're all sitting there, and we know enough about filmmaking and editing to know how they did that. They just would turn the head as far as they could humanly possible, cut to another shot, have the guy turn his body around, put his shirt on backwards, and then turn it some more. But as far as that, like, cheap ass
Executing it?
effect, it was executed very well. And there's a moment where it's just like, it almost kind of looks like the neck is stretching more than it should.
Like-
So it convinced me, kind of.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, fun! They're going around another time. That's great. This is
So
cool.
does that actually forgive the Roger Corman swamp monster from the Felt Table effect? Because that looked like dog shit.
I don't know. I even like the
The girl's paper mache face.
yeah, I
didn't
actually
mind
kind
it.
of like that
I
too.
didn't
I mean,
mind it.
obviously that's somebody's, poor man's Halloween costume,
It's
right?
Toilet
But
paper.
it was
latex.
there was a charm to it. I thought
yeah.
in that makeup. But I also like the banister head that comes
I was gonna
alive
say that too.
that was biting on the one girl's arm.
Overused it, but it was still cool.
Overused it because if they would have
Like you're really
cut
still
out
stuck?
like
Okay.
you know, the
Suppose
second half of
Beetlejuice
those
stole
shots.
this because Beetlejuice was in '88, right? You know.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
If they would have cut out half of those shots, it would have been convincing. But they kept cutting back to it to the point where you could see the separation of the bottom of the puppet with the actual banister in some of those later shots. And I'm like, oh, you guys, you almost had it. You almost had it.
I'll be honest. The first fucking scene, even though like the flashback kind of wasn't even a flashback because it wasn't. I don't know. It was so weird. But the moment where the girl's looking in the mirror in the opening scene, and then like she gets sucked in the mirror, that scared the shit out of me. I was like, all right, movie, all right. So like it had my attention. So I was like, all right, I'll give it
I
a
would have
chance.
liked to have known what the fuck was going on until the last exposition dump at the
Oh sure,
clear at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Story and
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
and just
The
like
whole movie's
this-
just batshit. Where
Yeah, it just doesn't fucking make any sense. I was just like, can I even have some idea as to what the fuck is going on here? And how did evil carnival guys, whatever,
Right.
who has that kind of vendetta to go,
follow them all the way to this island.
follow them? Okay, that's where their boat capsized, which I suppose that's where they are. So the next, don't they have fucking work to do at the carnival? Doesn't old guy from Funhouse and Lenny and Squiggy from fucking Laverne and Shirley, which I never understood that either, but it's the drizzling shits. I'm sorry.
And not only do they follow them to the island, but apparently they have super strength because they're bursting through like walls and stuff and windows
Punches
to attack these
through,
people.
uh-huh.
Yeah,
they're
they
doing,
either
like,
have super strength or they're related
straight
to
up
the
Kool-Aid man shit.
Yeah,
Oh yeah. All that shit at the fair at the beginning really was tough to get through. But I think once they got to the island, like it was fine.
the guy who ran that ride. I wasn't even 100% sure of his motivation until they got to the island. I'm like, was he chasing after the punk? Because, like, why was he putting up with the punks picking on that girl on the ride that the other one saved? It was, yeah.
I think
and he doesn't
was
get involved until one of the other guys, like, steals that part.
Well, I think he was running the ride, wasn't he?
Well, yeah, you would think
And
that
the other
he would have
carnies
kicked
were
those guys
spinning,
off. If anything else, the fact that they were like on the ride, standing there on the ride, not sitting down,
It just still strikes me. It's like, don't they have to work at the carnivals? It's like they just pieced out to go, on this excursion to like they had that big of a vendetta. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
This was a movie that this was a first time watch for me, and I remember seeing this box on every video store shelf on the
Oh, yeah.
video store.
I've
Great
seen the-
box, skull with the party hat on and the
Yeah,
So much better than the movie.
yeah.
Yeah.
This is
Ted's
a-
got to be
it's
pissed
true.
that we're all not
This-
saying mean things. And
This is the last time. This is a last time watch for me, if that accounts for anything.
could that be a new thing? A new rubber stamp?
I just want to know what my thoughts would have been if I just pulled the trigger back in the day and grabbed it off the
You would have
shelf.
liked it more.
Who knows? I don't know.
Because see, for me, I think, guys, this movie's terrible. Don't let anything we're
It's about
saying.
time.
Don't let anything we're saying sway that. This movie is bad. But, and I know you like this and maybe not like this, but the thing for me that made me not mind it so much is that it was so cheaply made. It was like it gave me Gore Gang feels, like high school movie feels. Like
It's
these guys are
100%
like
that.
stretching the shit out of a scene that they don't know what's
Like
even
things.
about. Right?
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
Like the 1990 things. Is that
because
what you're talking about?
I
Yeah.
think so.
Okay.
the motivations of
It's
the
not-
characters change on a dime.
I tried.
Like the one girl wants so desperately to get off that island, she's willing to swim there, but then when like the other guy shows back up, she's happy to stay there with him at the hotel while the other two go try to find the boat. It's stuff like that. Like their motivations change on a dime, like constantly
To
throughout
suit
the
the
entire
scene,
movie.
yeah.
And the whole movie is just running from one location to
I
the
was
other.
gonna say that too. So much running.
But
So
what
much
I
waiting
what I really
and
like
running.
about this is this: if they just would have, maybe crashed the boat and went to this hotel. I mean, it's just like, to me, it's just a very simple story. It's a solid concept.
Yeah.
They get marooned or whatever, and they go to this island, and the hotel's haunted. I'm totally up for that kind of story.
You can see them with mirrors.
Totally cool. I just wish the execution was a hell of a lot better,
Oh yeah. It was
and it's not.
So Tad, what you're saying is you just hate British people. Is that what you're trying to say?
I will say that the lack of story kept me not engaged. What's the opposite? Unengaged. I could not focus on this.
Asleep?
Not quite asleep. I think sleep. At least if it put me to sleep, it would have a use. It would have.
It would have
serve a
lulled you.
purpose.
Yeah.
It was like one of those movies where I'm like looking at my phone and a half hour's gone by. Like shit, gotta look back up and rewind it and go back. I've missed a half hour of this movie, and I had to watch it in like 5 pieces, which is bad news. It was just so hard to get through, and it shouldn't, because it's an hour and a half, if that. Yeah, hour 30 minutes, and it felt like a drag because I just didn't know what was happening. I can't stand it when I'm like, am I dumb and missing something, or is it just not good storytelling? And it sounds like it was just not good storytelling.
It's not good storytelling. No. You don't think this would be fun in a party setting with a bunch of people?
Maybe if a bunch of people like riffing on it, but
Yeah. Well, it's obviously prime for riffing.
If you want people to clear out, maybe.
But I'm just like, I don't know. I had high hopes from the poster and the name. I'm like,
Right.
How did I miss out on this holiday horror? Because everybody knows I'm a big holiday horror guy. Any horror movie based on a day or a holiday, I have to see. And I was like, ooh, a new New Year's horror I haven't seen. Let's do this. And it actually has a 4.5 on IMDb, which is drastically high for this.
Wow.
Yeah, with 2,000 votes, which is like, are people confusing this with one of the other 2 movies that we're going to talk
Did we
about?
watch the right movie?
Right, that's what I'm wondering. I'm like, because the poster's really cool, and then it just, I don't know, man. It has nothing to do with the low budget of it, because, I mean, that's, if anything, like Jason said, it's sort of cool to see, like, it's like a DIY fun thing. And when the kills came around, like the head twisting, that kind of stuff, that was a blast. But to get there is just a trog, man. It's just,
it's not worth the wait, I don't think.
I say it all the time, but I think Joe Bob said, like, the biggest crime a movie can commit is being boring, and this is
has
boring,
its moments.
Yeah.
It does.
It
But then you
does.
get weirdo scenes like the girls in that room in a blizzard. It starts, a snowstorm starts happening in the room while the fireplace is still going, by the way.
And then I love how the electricity automatically comes on, and then a battery operated toy. They're just like, oh, the electricity's on. It's fucking battery operated, numbnuts.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of like head scratching stuff going on in this movie. A lot of it, and it's like they come up with, oh, this would be a cool thing, and but then there's no rationality for it whatsoever. I kind of liked when they're watching the movie, and then it like shows flashbacks
That
to
Sheik
the Sheik pops out of the screen. I like how they pulled that off. That was kind of
that's fair.
again
That's fair.
with like no budget. I thought that was kind of a neat little effect, a no budget effect. It's kind of cool. But then the guy in the projection booth gets all wrapped up. His feet get wrapped up in the film, and it's just like, oh, you ruined that moment.
They're watching Fiend Without a Face from 1958.
Yep, and their attention to detail in this movie, because at one point you could see a poster, a handwritten poster on the wall that says, tonight showing Fiend Without a Face. They really paid attention to what they were doing.
Yeah, Bloody New Year, 1987.
I don't know if the filmmaker if the director dude saw Evil Dead and thought he could do it better.
Right, but it's
But it's very Evil Dead-ish. It's very like Evil Dead with like missing the point of what Evil Dead was. I mean, you even have like and that really hit me when they are in the hotel and everything has been going crazy. Well, and then you get like, some of these people are getting possessed. And you get you mentioned the girl with the toilet paper makeup on her face. She turns on a dime, no reason, into this
Exactly.
demonic creature, no reason. And her supernatural thing is fighting off one of the guys that's been attacking them. So they run in horror, and then when she shows back up at the house, she's attacking a different one of those guys. So how do you know she's not on their side? Right? The only people that she attacks are the ones that have been following them and attacking them.
Tell you what, at this point, I didn't really give a shit.
yeah, you're looking harder than a lot of us did.
I didn't even care.
But yeah,
I don't know. I mean, obviously, there's issues with the script. Obviously, there's issues with the directing. But I really feel like maybe the fault was the editor. I think like the director pissed off the editor because there's so many weird, not only editing choices but sound effects choices. What's with the laugh track scene?
I think it was supposed to be an evil presence, but it's
It
laughter.
comes off like it's a laugh track.
I tried to hear it different, and it kept sounding like laughter. I couldn't.
I really think it was a laugh track. And they just kept
Evil.
repeating that one shot where the camera, again, Evil Dead, camera's in a POV evil presence coming towards those two, and then they're holding hands, and then they step away from each other, and they just keep repeating that shot several times.
Yeah, it's a time loop. They're stuck in a time loop.
Oh, that's it. See, you got it all figured out. All right, Bloody New Year. Good luck with trivia on this, Tad, because I was trying to find information about this movie to kind of try to figure out what the hell happened. And
I only
couldn't find
have
much.
one little bit, and it's simply for a nice shout out to listener Brian Clark. This was shot on location at Butlins Island in Wales. The Doctor Who Delta and the Bannerman Part 1 was also filmed here in the same year, which also, like Bloody New Year, has a 1950s theme.
Nice.
All right. Thanks, Brian Clark.
Yes. Man, I was really hoping you'd have some insight on what the hell happened.
Oh, no.
Nope. There's only 3 pieces of trivia, and yeah.
So you get a movie like Nightmare Weekend, which is also a head scratcher of like what the hell happened, what's going on, but there's lore to that. There's actually been a lot of articles written about how that movie came to be.
Well, I mean, look at The Room, There's a movie about the movie.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But there's no information out there that I was able to find about what the hell happened with Bloody New Year. Maybe someday. But until then...
It's for you to do the research and make the documentary.
Oh, all right. Sounds good. I'll do it. We're on it. I'm going to need your help with that, guys. I think we need to watch it several more times.
Oh.
Tad, what's our next movie?
Our next movie is a classic from 1980. It is Terror Train.
Terror Train.
Everybody take off your mask. Hey, take it easy, man. What are you doing? Oh, my God. Stay with your date. I don't want to get back on that track. Nobody does. Nice gag, Doc. this temperature, you'll die. You'll die.
Come on, Mo. Come on. Mo.
For the students aboard, it's going to be the one party to end them all.
They're always walking out of my parties. But this time, you can't. Magic. My last big college party.
It's a joke. Goddamn practical joke.
Train.
I don't want to get back on that train.
All right. 3 years after a prank went terribly wrong, the 6 college students responsible are targeted by a masked killer at a New Year's Eve party aboard a moving train. I love this movie. A little peek behind the curtains. We actually were planning on watching the reboot, which came out on Tubi just recently. And I finished it, but about halfway through realized that it is actually set on Halloween. They changed it for the reboot, so
Yeah, I watched it for our year ender and kind of wanted you guys to watch it anyway. So when this topic's brought up, it's like, oh, let's do the new one. Totally forgetting that it was Halloween and not New Year's.
yeah. But I mean, any opportunity I get to rewatch this, I'm stoked on because I mean, this is like, you know, peak like 1980 is right after Halloween, The Fog. We have Jamie Lee Curtis as our lead, has a young, handsome David Copperfield. It's masked killer on a train, New Year's Eve, a bunch of crazy, horny, drunk college students. I think this one's a lot of fun. I've always liked this one.
Yeah.
This is like my go-to for New Year's Eve over the other movie we're going to talk about. I mean, it's crazy that we have enough movies to talk about to make an episode on New Year's horror, but to me, this is the best, my favorite. I love the sort of disguise and how he switches disguises throughout the movie. Ending sort of weak to me because it's like, I mean, it's there. You know, we get red herrings all the way through the movie, and then spoiler. I won't spoil the ending. If somehow you haven't seen it, this is a classic. You should hit pause and watch it, but. The ending's not any kind of big twist or really anything. I mean, I guess it is, but I don't know. I still love this one every time I watch it. It has a charm to it. It's. I think it's actually shot pretty well, directed pretty well. What do you guys think?
Well, real quick, Ted, I have to ask you off topic. What did you think of the remake?
I liked it. I didn't
Yeah.
hate it at all. Yeah,
It was way better than I expected it to be.
and there's a sequel already that's out.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did not waste any time on that.
No, holy shit! Like Tubi,
Pulling a Ty West, man.
yeah, Tubi's just pumping it out, and I actually thought the new one was fun. So we might have to find a way to sneak it into an upcoming episode. But
I'm happy to hear because I didn't know how I felt about myself after watching it, realizing that I kind of liked it. And I had watched the trailer for the remake, and the trailer made it look horrible, like it was some, super low budget. I don't know.
direct-to-video sci-fi channel shit. Yeah.
Yeah. But then when you watch the movie, it turned out way better than I anticipated. So, yeah, okay. That's enough of that. In case we do do put it on a future episode somewhere.
What I think is really interesting about this, and listening to that trailer again, is Jamie Lee Curtis the only person alive where I can hear her scream and just you can recognize her scream.
Yeah,
like when you call her Scream
absolutely.
Queen, she truly embodies that name because holy shit, I mean. It's like, did they just pull that from Halloween and use it for her whole career? It's how does that work? It's like more recognizable than her voice.
Yeah.
I thought that
Yeah,
during the movie.
that's-
I'm like, did they just
hard to
steal
argue
some of
with
that
that.
from the movie?
Yeah.
This film, truth be told, I didn't hate it the first time I saw it. I mean, because I've seen it a few more times since then. But this is one of those movies that continues to grow on me. Um, yeah, it's. I mean, I love the era that it's made in. I mean, I get the, and I know it's another Jamie Lee Curtis movie, but it's like it feels like disco horror to
Mm-hmm.
me. And I kind of like that the feel and the era of that. And of course, you've got a sorority and fraternity party. I mean, that is just prime slasher fodder to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, that's you're checking all the boxes, and plus, you are
Young, pretty,
in.
horny people.
Yeah, and plus, the setting is also great as well, because I mean, you've got limited places to go. I mean, you're either going up or you're going down.
You're
You
stuck
know,
on it. Yeah, I mean, it limits them to, especially back then, before cell phones. They can't even like radio this
absolutely,
in. They're literally
Yeah.
stuck moving from
absolutely.
train car to train car, which is very claustrophobic.
Yeah, and of course, you're in the middle of a damn costume party.
Anybody
You
can be, yeah,
Yeah.
anybody.
it absolutely. So I mean, the concept is very, very, very strong, and like you said, you got David Copperfield, but I mean, the greatest trick he ever pulled was pulling Elle McPherson. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think the blood and the fight that Jamie Lee has with what is this guy's name? Is his name Edward? Our killer.
I think, let me see here. I have
Yeah.
it pulled
I
up.
think it starts with an
Ed.
E, doesn't it?
What'd you say, Jason?
There's an Ed,
Yeah.
but it's his like current picture, so I can't even tell.
Yeah.
There's Kenny, Mo, Ed, Jackson, Mitchie,
Mitchie's the girl.
the magician.
Well, whatever. This killer, I mean, you see her, you see him rip her earring out. I mean, she's taking her licks and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I agree with Tad on the ending. Just him getting all schizo, and then yeah, it's not much of a payoff in that aspect. But I mean, the movie is good, and it's strong, and it's got good characters. Um, yeah, and it's still, it is still a product of its time, just of the very early slasher craze, but hey, that's the era that I love. um but yeah, it's good solid disco horror.
This was a first time watch for me.
Cool.
I'd never
Oh,
seen it
nice.
before, and I thought it was awesome. It was really
Yeah.
great. I thought a lot of the acting was awesome. It was. I'm like half. I'm just like, is that really David Copperfield? Is he really in this movie? Holy crap!
Yeah.
And he was great. And I didn't realize how big of a crush on Vanity I had, but she
Oh,
was
Oh
yeah.
God, that's right, that's
so
right.
hot.
Yeah.
I forgot. Yeah, I was going to mention that. I forgot she was. When I rewatched it, I was just like, oh shit. Yeah, Last Dragon, baby.
But I don't know how literally he could have cleaned up the blood from the lizard guy in the bathroom. How's that happen? But anyway, yeah, it was a fun murder mystery type, and we all knew it was going to happen. But
Yeah, sort of like slasher mixed with like a whodunit, like
Mhm.
Well, it's a slasher murder on the Orient Express, essentially.
and I thought like this is like the most like actually on a train it looked like that in all the scenes they're swaying around like
Yeah.
you didn't ever lose perspective of being on a train. I don't know if it was like super poor man's. It had to be processed, but like, man, I thought they sold that really well. But yeah, I thought it was great.
What else has Hart Bachner been in? Because I remember him from one of the Urban Legends. and I remember him being like Supergirl's boyfriend, the Helen Slater one.
He was in Die Hard. Opposite
Oh
Bruce
God, that's
Willis.
right. That's right.
So, Breaking Away.
Bulworth.
He was in Bulworth.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Sounds good.
I just remember Rebecca Gayheart pushing him with like Alfred Hitchcock's music.
Mr. Destiny.
Oh yeah.
I'm just looking at the IMDb. I'm not like
I
smart.
figured that's what you guys
Like,
were doing.
yeah.
I think we all are, but it's making
Yeah.
for good podcasting.
Those were the
the,
only two that I
Car-
could fire off on the
the
top
Carrie
of my head.
reboot, but he was uncredited.
Yeah, I don't blame him. I'm
Yeah,
just
he probably-
kidding.
He probably asked that. Yeah.
He sort of looks like Trent Reznor in his IMDb picture here on the Terror Train page, but
Yeah. Well, I don't know what else I could say that hasn't already been said. It's Terror Train. It's a classic. You definitely got me thinking about other horror movies that take place on trains, and I cannot think of a bad one in the bunch. It might be one of the best settings to put a horror movie because again,
Midnight Meat Train
okay, we had to mention
or
one.
Subway, but
It's all right.
No, it's fine. But Horror Express. I love that movie.
Oh, yeah.
Freaking
yeah,
Minus Telly Savalas.
Here we go again.
Kojak, baby.
Train
Who
to
loves you, baby?
Busan. How awesome is that one? And yeah, it's that claustrophobic. You only have 2 ways to go, and just from car to car. So yeah, great classic. Yeah. What trivia do you have for this one, Tad?
this has like the opposite of that. I have too much to sort through, so I have a couple of cool ones. I wasn't even going to include this one, but then we were just talking about the concept of the train. The idea for Terror Train came from a dream that one of the story writers, Daniel Grodnick, had. One weekend night after seeing Halloween and Silver Streak, he woke up and said to his wife, "What do you think about putting Halloween on a train?" His wife answered, "That sounds terrible." He jotted down "terrible train" on a piece of paper on his nightstand. In the morning, he changed the title to Terror Train, wrote up 22 pages, and made a deal on it with
Nice.
Sandy Howard's company at 3 in the afternoon. So the next day, he already had the deal done. I thought this was interesting. The train itself, it was shot on a real train, obviously. The train was rocked back and forth on a rig inside of a warehouse in order to simulate train locomotion.
There you go, Jason.
Cool.
This was David Copperfield's first and only acting role in film or television. He got very irritated during production because he had so much trouble saying his lines that he swore he'd never make another movie, and he didn't. Jamie Lee Curtis shot this film back to back with the similarly themed slasher film Prom Night in late 1979. Prom Night shot in Toronto in August and September and released in July, while Terror Train shot in Montreal in November and December and was released in October. So she went straight from one to the next in Canada. So
Nice.
I know that obviously some crossover between this and Prom Night, especially with the whole like prank gone wrong type thing. But Terror Train and Prom Night. But I think this is sort of what made Jamie Lee want to get out of horror for a bit. And luckily for her, luckily for her, I mean, not that there's anything wrong with knocking this and The Fog and all this stuff out back to back to back, but it's amazing that she did that and then ended up doing True Lies and getting, and then she sort of transformed into a family movie star and then
Trading Places and stuff.
Yeah, some really big things, and now she's she's returned to horror and drama, and I absolutely adore Jamie Lee Curtis. She's amazing as a human and an actor. One of my favorite people to ever live. So, yes. Just
she's awesome.
again, talking earlier about it, not to get too far off track, but her support for all of her cast and the filmmakers behind Everything Everywhere All at Once, sort of taking a back seat to these other actors, like letting them have the spotlight and cheerleading them on and being awesome is just like inspiring too. You know,
Yeah.
she's made sure that she's like the one person involved in that movie that's not getting the spotlight, and I just adore her for that. Like putting them all on pedestals and making sure they get their due justice. So, right on, Jamie Lee Curtis.
I really want an action figure of her from that movie. With them
Yes,
fingers.
yes.
Dude. how
You can buy the
freaking-
hot dog hands from A24,
Of course you can. God damn it.
and they come in like an Oscar Mayer box.
Oh, that's awesome.
We thought about doing that for Halloween.
Amazing.
Yep. All right, Andy, what's our last movie for today?
Our last movie for today comes to us from 1980 from the Cannon Group, one of my favorites, and it's called New Year's Evil.
On the one night they were celebrating New Year's Eve, he was out, ending their life.
I'm going to commit murder at midnight. Call me evil.
Every New Year's Eve, the caller came out.
Please. I'll do anything you want. You can even get it on if you want to. I won't make any kind of...
One terrifying night of unspeakable evil. New Year's Evil.
During a New Year's Eve celebration, a Los Angeles disc jockey receives a phone call saying that when New Year's strikes in each time zone, someone will be murdered, and she will be the last one. Yeah, this is basically about this woman who's kind of a bit of like a quasi celebrity where she is, and she, is she's got a live band there, and she's counting down, and it's going to be a New Year's celebration, and they're showing all these. It's a live broadcast of all these bands that are coming out, and she comes across as very self-absorbed because her son, played by Grant Kramer of Killer Clowns from Outer Space fame, he comes there and tells her about what's going on in his life, and she's very just pretty much involved with what she's got going on, and she kind of pretty much dismisses him, and she's kind of being a terrible mother, and of course her husband's not there to be supportive and whatever. I believe it's her ex-husband at this time, but and as this live celebration is going on, she's getting this call, and as you might have heard from the trailer, Mike Myers Dr. Evil voice going through like a tracheotomy box is saying, "I'm evil." And he's killing all these people, and it turns out this guy is going to random places, like one's in an asylum, and he kills a nurse there. But to me, like, a lot of the kills are just very sanitary. This seems like it could be. This is what I look at as a Lifetime slasher movie. I mean, it's very tame by even by the 1980s standards. Um, Basically, full reveal here. It's the lady's ex-husband, and she's he's very tired, of her, and this and that, and he's apparently snapped, and uh, yeah, uh, I guess I liked watching the bands more than I actually liked watching the
Yeah.
kills. I was a little bit bored.
It has its own theme song. Hell yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
I tell you what,
yeah.
you know, movie posters these days suck because like the Bloody New Year's one is good, but this New Year's Evil poster is actually pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Him with the switchblade coming through the December calendar, it's actually really cool. But yeah, like the bands, and the guy had the Ferris Bueller leopard print jacket that I thought was neat, that I immediately noticed. Um, but yeah, it seems so. I don't even know why Grant Kramer was in this movie, because they barely used him. They just wanted him to put like a safety pin through his ear and put pantyhose on his head for some reason, just for him to act weird.
Oh, his character was utterly, utterly pointless because they
Yeah,
set him up to be a red herring, but we know who the killer is from the first scene with the killer. They show his face.
thank you. And he's putting on disguises, and he's picking up women in bars, to kill, because he needs to make a kill on New Year's in each time zone. But I mean, he's in Los Angeles, but he's doing it, I guess he's working time wise. He's working his way from the East Coast all the way to, back to Los Angeles. And even though since I'm such a nerd, I immediately knew who the blonde was. When he picked her up at the bar, it's Louisa Moretz, because I remember seeing her in Last American Virgin and Death Race 2000. She was like the one that rode shotgun with Sylvester Stallone. Both good films. Watch them. But yeah, it just seems. Yeah, I guess the only way I can put it, this is the Lifetime version of a slasher movie.
Yeah, I agree. The kills are kind of lame, but I feel I like this one quite a bit for the fact that I love the concept of the killer's MO, that to kill somebody every hour based on the different time zones of New Year's Eve. I thought that was a cool little thing.
Yeah.
And I also like the twist on the whodunit aspect. Instead of being like keeping the killer shrouded in shadows or wearing a mask or doing a lot of POV and then reveal the face of the killer in the end, we see the killer right off the bat. We know who this guy is, and we're following him around as he's trying to fill out his plan. And even though the execution of the kills are kind of lame and boring, some of the lead ups I was kind of into, because not that you're rooting for the killer or anything, but there's moments where it's like, oh shit, is he gonna get to his kill by the hour? Is he gonna continue on with his motif here for his kills? And I just like the fact that we know who this killer is through the whole movie, but we don't know who he is in relation to our main character, Pinky Tuscadero. Because we then that's the reveal on who he actually is in connection to the lead actress here. So I thought that was a neat little twist in an era of how are we going to do something different with the slasher genre. So when there was new ones coming out like weekly, so I liked it for those aspects. I hated the son character just because he was completely and utterly pointless. Like, why are we trying to create a red herring? I mean, that was the whole point of him, was to be a red herring,
Right.
when we know exactly who the killer is right from the beginning. That's the greatest punk band. I love the band in it. I mean, it was just one band, right?
Yeah.
Through the whole movie, with the biggest range of music genre ever, except for punk.
Right.
Like they did every
A
other
lot
genre
of
except
new
for punk.
wave and whatever.
So yeah, it definitely has its issues, but I still enjoyed it. I think this was also a first time watch for me, by the way.
It's the first time I've seen it. I mean, I'd seen like you said about Bloody New Year. I'd seen the cover just hundreds of times.
Oh yeah,
But-
oh yeah.
Well,
I've watched. I would say, go ahead, Jason.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say I've watched this one quite a few times over the years. Another one that I think I just bought like the Blu-ray many years ago when it came out because of the title. I can see where Andy's saying like the Hallmark horror movie. It's almost like neutered. Like it's almost
Yeah, but
innocent.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
It's not necessarily a bad thing. It just sort of feels like they had to cut something, or it's just not. It's very bloodless and it's not very mean in ways.
Yeah, it's sanitary.
But it has some really cool scenes. I love the mask. That's really cool. It's not really scary in any way. It's more of I don't even know. It's just sort of I love the concept of killing them on different time zones. That's cool. Original. Just doesn't quite live up to that potential, but it's still not bad. I think I want to like it more than I do because it's like not offensively bad to me. It doesn't make me mad. I just really like every time I watch it, I have it like in my head that I'm like, this is a fun one. I watch it, I'm like, it's not as good as I remember it, and it's like it doesn't get better with every watch, but
I paid for it, so I gotta like it somewhat.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I think it's one that if you saw it earlier in your horror movie life, it probably would have stood out more. Because it is kind of come off generic and kind of boring in some parts. But I really feel like the whole point of this movie wasn't to have these big, cool, elaborate kills. It was the build up to the kill, whether you're rooting for the killer or you're rooting for the victim. It's a little Hitchcockian, maybe not executed as well as it could have been, but it's kind of Hitchcockian in the fact that there's a ticking bomb when it comes to these kills. They have to be executed within the hour. And the moment that really stands out to me is when he's at the drive-in, and it just kind of feels like his plan is falling apart because he's dealing with like these punks that are causing havoc at the drive-in, and there's just several moments where it's just like, oh, is he going to get his kill completed within that time frame because he's got to do it on the hour. So I feel like the filmmakers were trying to do like a reversal suspense kind of thing where, it's got to be done by this time or the whole plan falls apart. I don't know.
Well, I just want to refer to what Andy said earlier. This is a last time watch for me.
Whoa.
I'm just trying to make that a thing. That's all.
I like it.
It was my first time, but yeah, it's a shock, but it was my least favorite of the three.
That's
really.
I was just gonna ask.
Wow.
That person was better. It was.
What order did you watch them in?
I've been trying to watch them in the order we talk about them. So.
Whoa. So Bloody New Year was first, and you still liked it better than this one.
Wow. My favorite part of this movie, though, is it was halfway through the movie, and the cops were like, I think he's using a voice changer. Really? Because who talks like that?
Right,
Like
yeah.
The world's most annoying voice.
Hello, Sydney.
I wished it was that good, but I just like shut up and kill somebody.
And he also talks so slow that you would think for like a live TV broadcast, they would just hang up on him. Because I'm like, dude, you're talking too slow. This is live television. We're cutting you off.
Yeah. I can't remember what else I was going to say.
I think the band is actually like a real, that at the time was a real band, and it was sort of like probably like friends of the director or something. It's like, hey, you want to be in a movie? And you just got to learn some songs. And apparently someone wrote the New Year's Evil song, which they felt they needed to play over and over again. But it's a banger, so, I don't blame them.
One of the other things that I'm impressed is how many damn people were in that convertible. I actually paused it and counted. There was 9 goddamn people in that convertible at the beginning when it pulls up. Because there's like 2 right behind like the back seats. I'm just like, it's a fucking clown car, man.
Did you remember what you were going to say?
Sorry.
Nope. Nope. Oh, yeah. I thought, though, out of the three of these films, though, I didn't think the first two had shit to do with New Year's Eve. Really? But this one was, like, all fucking about New Year's Eve. Like, it really embraced the time. The
Yeah,
topic.
I did want to mention that earlier with Bloody New
That's how I
Year. It is the most disconnected from its holiday, I feel like, than any
I
other
felt
holiday
more.
horror.
It had Christmas ornaments up. I'm like,
Yeah,
this feels more Christmas.
yeah. But but you definitely have the feels of New Year's with this movie. Because it was in New York, right? That's when it was supposed to be. No,
Yeah,
that
and
can't
she
be
was-
right, was it?
It was in Los Angeles.
Los Angeles, because
And she was talking to people in New York and Aspen. And,
The movie would have been a lot shorter if it was in New York. If the kills are based on time zones.
Yeah, he just would have went for her and just said, "Fuck it, you're dead."
Yeah.
And I probably shouldn't give shout outs to other podcasts, but my favorite podcast with Gorley and Russ did an episode. They're doing like a holiday horrors, and this is an episode they did on New Year's Evil, and it's really funny. And hearing a perspective from two comedians is really good, so I recommend checking that episode out.
Sweet. Tad, what trivia do you have for this one?
Well, it's funny you mentioned Hitchcockian because director Emmett Alston is in a Hitchcock-style cameo as a bearded camera operator.
Nice.
In the movie. And then during the first call made by the killer, it is mentioned that the voice modulation makes him sound like the Phantom. We assume that is a reference to the character from Phantom of the Paradise, but
that's that's where I first went. Yeah.
Which is a really weird reference because that movie came out, mid-70s. It wasn't a huge hit. It's not like it's a huge piece of pop culture. Like, who got that reference?
Well, yeah, maybe for that time, but I feel there's been other movies and bands and stuff that have really homaged Phantom of the Paradise with their stuff.
Okay.
But then it's like 30, 40 years later, so
yeah,
the
that's
movie had time
about
to gestate and grow a cult following.
That's all the what I thought was interesting out of the trivia on this one.
All right, cool. Well, there you have it, folks. That's it for the films for this episode, but there is still more Attack of the Killer podcast to come. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll do our segments. But first, you're going to hear a promo for our podcast network called the Prescribed Films Podcast Network. The PFPN, as we call it, is home to many amazing shows, including our newest show on the network called Screams from the Basement.
Heck
Yay!
yeah.
Screams from the Basement with Sam and Casey is a bi-monthly horror podcast in which two friends discuss things all horror, including new, recent watches, horror collectibles, and more. So check out our newest show right here on the network, Screams from the Basement. And check them out and all the other shows at thepfpn.com. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal, providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.
Welcome back to the show. So it's the segments portion. It's time for segments here on Attack of the Killer podcast. We're going to start off, like we always do, hearing from you guys, the listeners, and the Facebookers, and those people that type things. So here's Jason with shout-outs.
It's time for shout-outs! 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 Shout-outs!
All right, we asked, what are your favorite New Year's horror movies? And these are your answers. Up first, we got Attacker Hot Rod. Hutchinson says, wait, are you telling me that there are more New Year's Eve movies besides New Year's Evil and Terror Train? 1980, not the two shitty Tubi versions. Yes, Rod.
There's one more.
There's one more. We talked about it. Up next, we got Nick Leadham. He says, I have a habit of watching Rosemary's Baby around then, but I'm not sure it strictly counts. Mostly watch it since there's a New Year's party in it and the ending. The year is one.
Okay.
And Lisa from Bad Movie Bunny Podcast says, I count Rosemary's Baby. And then she jumps into comment. She says, my pick is Bloody New Year. I'm sorry. It has a remote. No, I like this one.
You do.
It has a remote island,
Don't change on. Don't switch on.
a
me here.
reunion of a crappy friend group, and supernatural fuckery. What more could one want when breaking New Year's resolutions? She's right.
A watchable movie.
Come on, she just made it sound even better.
Yeah.
She's
now that
selling it.
Yeah.
Now that you mention, I guess End of Days would count as a New Year's movie too, wouldn't it?
Up next, we got Tim Lennerer. He says, I used to watch the 1960s version of The Time Machine every New Year's Day to remind myself that 1, time is continuing to pass, and 2, George Pal's stop motion effects were charming. Tried watching the remake once and tapped out very early. And then our last comment of today is from Brian Clark. Y'all remember Brian Clark?
Woo!
He says, while there's nothing about it related to New Year's, a tradition of ours for many years was to watch Grizzly. Yes.
Oh, interesting choice for a New Year's
Starting around
tradition.
11, so we finish at 12:30. The running joke being that it was the movie that took a whole year to watch. Come on.
I like it.
So
I like
funny.
it. I'm with them on that. That's good.
You like that, do you?
do.
Well, there's the red light's beeping over on that machine. You want to hit it for me, mate?
Oh, yeah, sure. Click.
Hey, everybody, Attacker Brian here. I'm back from Christmas break, and it sounds like we're talking New Year's Eve horror, or New Year's horror. A new year, a new horror movie. That's what I'm talking about. I was doing some research and looking at New Year's Eve horror movies, and I found a movie that's in pre-production called New Fear's Eve. Sounds like the horror movie about 3 friends that mistakenly go to a party or crash a party, and a killer is out to get them. By Blood Moon Productions. Sounds right up my alley. So I'm hoping to check that out soon. Hope you guys had a good Christmas and a happy holidays. And here's to a bloody new year. Take care. Bye-bye.
Hey, thanks, Godzilla. Well, all y'all can also leave your voicemails. You can give us a call at 415-952-6857 or 415-95-AOTKP. Leave us that voicemail. We'll play your sweet, sexy voice on the show. And that's shout-outs.
This is Jason Statham for Attack of the Killer podcast. And apparently I'm going to introduce Insane Mike's picks. Now, you could be doing something a lot more productive, like picking vegetables and picking fruit or something like that. But, or you could be doing something less painful, like, sticking toothpicks underneath your fingernails or pushing a nice pick through your balls. But anyway, here's Inside's picks.
Thank you, Jason Statham. That was awesome.
Wow. I didn't know he was stopping by.
Yeah. Love you in the Crank movies. You need to make part 3.
I'll get on it.
After a small hiatus, Insane's Picks Hall of Fame is back with part 2 of inducting legendary scream queen Linnea Quigley. We last left off, if you remember, in the year 1985, where a movie would come out that would change everything for her. It would be her big breakout role. We're talking about the classic zombie punk film, Return of the Living Dead. Linnea Quigley was cast as punk rocker Trash, who has a death fixation and has a habit of taking her clothes off on top of tombstones. Return of the Living Dead was directed by Dan O'Bannon. When it came out, Linnea's strip dance concerned the producers, and they did not want her to show full frontal nudity on screen. So Dan O'Bannon and the producers kind of butted heads on that topic, and out of pure frustration, Dan said, "Fine, we just will make her look like a Barbie doll. So Linnea had to go through several experimental makeup tests so that she could wear what they call the Barbie doll prosthetic over her crotch, so the producers would, be happy. Which caused many hormonal young men, myself, very, very confused watching the movie. Is that what it really supposed to look like?
Yep.
After Return of the Living Dead, her reign was supreme in the late 80s and the early 90s with such films as Sorority Babes and the Slimeball Bolorama in 1988, Night of the Demons in 1988, other movies like Nightmare Sisters, Creepazoids, Witch Trap, Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers, just to name a few. She was on the cover of several horror magazines back in the day. She had tons of TV appearances like USA Up All Night, various talk shows, Entertainment Tonight, and was even on Joe Bob Briggs' Monster Vision. During the filming of Night of the Demons, Linnea first met FX artist Steve Johnson. He cast her boobs for the lipstick through the nipples and fell in love. They started dating, and later, while working on the film Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4 Dream Master, Johnson proposed to Linnea right after Linnea played the soul bursting out of Freddy's chest. He gave her a ring while hosing the KY jelly off of her, and they married January 17th, 1990. Unfortunately, they divorced in 1992. In the early 90s, she almost left acting. She wanted to become a police officer with the Los Angeles Police Department. She passed the written test, but luckily for all of us, she decided to continue acting instead after that. And thank goodness she did, because some of her best films were still to come. She continued to work on film after film after film. Then, in the magic year of 2008, she hit the peak of her career when she worked for Prescribed Films on the movie called Legend Has It. Oh yeah, that's one of my movies. We worked with Linnea on two more films after that, Collapse in 2011 and Demonica in 2014. And would you believe I still had to do the research, look at her IMDb page, just to make sure I got the years right. Linnea Quigley, she's an actress, musician, producer, author, model, and someone I consider a friend. After more than 35 years in the business and 125 films, Linnea Quigley is still America's Scream Queen. And with that, we close out Insane's Picks Hall of Fame for the time being. Starting next episode, we're going to begin a whole new venture with Insane's Picks, so tune in next time to see what I have cooked up in the future there for Insane's Picks. But that also concludes another episode of Attack of the Killer Podcast. That's it.
Happy New Year, guys.
Happy New Year's. I want to thank everybody
Happy January 27th.
Right.
Yeah. I want to thank everybody for listening, and from all of us here at Attack of the Killer Podcast, we hope you have a happy and horrifying new year. So until next time, we'll talk to you again.
Oh no, could this be the end of? Wow.